We are here with Frank DeLima,
How's it?
iconic, legendary comedian here in Hawaii.
You know, icons are in the Greek church or in the Orthodox church, skinny little boards of paintings of saints and stuff.
Okay.
So when people call me an icon, I look at my body and I say, "Oh my goodness, I ain't no skinny little icon." But anyway, continue. I just thought I'd get it in there.
Okay.
So what's up?
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
We all know that you wanted to first start your career as becoming a priest, but when did the comedy start coming into play?
Comedy started when I was a little kid.
Okay.
My babysitter actually, and my mom, my sisters, they all told me a little bit later on in my life what I did when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fortunate. I think people are born with a talent that is supposed to be something that they're going to use for their career.
Right.
And with that gift that they have, you have all the ingredients necessary for a successful career.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the ingredient for comedians is to know when and when not to be funny,
Right.
when to clown around, when all that kind of stuff. So I was fortunate to have that as part of my growing up years, where I was never scolded for what I did, because I just had that inside feeling of when I can and when I cannot.
Mm-hmm.
And I had guidance from my parents as well, and from my neighbors. My babysitter, Mrs. Lee, she lived to be 100. I used to visit her every Chinese New Year, all the way till she passed last year. And one time she told me, I was playing with my toys in her garage. She babysat me. So her aunt used to come over every day at about noon, and then they make lunch together for the kids. Had 5 of us that she babysat. And they talk Chinese. Sound like that. And so one day she said, I stood up as a 3-year-old and I started talking, because I was listening to it all every day, hearing it. One day I started talking the sounds, so it didn't make sense, she said, but she said it sounded so good. And then there's my Mrs. Lee used to take us to all the grand opening of this or Chinatown for Chinese New Year, and I used to watch the lion dance, and they feed money, right? So I got all 5 of us together, and we made construction paper, and we made a box, and I was the head of the lion, our version, little kids, right? And then we got one blanket. We asked Mrs. Lee for the blanket, and it was colorful. And then the guy behind would be the tail, and then we get pots and pans and wooden spoon and bang, 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 and then I dance around like that. Mrs. Lee didn't know that we were going to go to the neighbor and try to see if they give money, And then the next neighbor, but we never get money. They just clap for us, and if they had candy in the house, they would give us candy. So, I started doing this kind of stuff way back. Dress up as, one of the ones that my sisters told me about was, I was just little, and popular guy at the time was Johnny Ray. He wore dark glasses, and he used to tear his shirt when he sang his rock and roll songs on TV. And so one day I had my snap pajamas, and I put dark glasses on, and I started singing in rock and roll and tearing the shirt, and they said they cracked up laughing so much. And then there's my radio cohort that I developed as a kid. And so all of this stuff developed growing up. And the reason is because I had this thing about being interested in things around me. And it just so happens that in Hawaii, the things around me are ethnic. And so there are 5 of us from the neighborhood. And Japanese, Okinawan, Chinese, Filipino, and all the houses had a grandma and grandpa, a mom and dad, and the children. All the houses in the whole neighborhood. And so all the boys used to hang out Just so happened that only one girl or two girls. Let's see. I'm sorry. I had three girls, two Chinese girls and one Japanese girl, and the rest were all boys. And so the boys would hang out, and every so often we let the girls play, whatever. But I used to hang out at their homes on the weekends sometimes. But other parents say, "Yeah, let's come to my house." And those are the days, and they were so safe too, And everybody watched. Oh, we couldn't do anything wrong, like anything bad, because everybody, the whole neighborhood watching. Like they say, a village brings up a kid.
Right.
Well, we had a village of 16 homes on our street alone. But anyway, so I used to ask lots of questions to the grandparents, and they'd answer me in broken English, accent, pidgin, and their language. And I would ask things like, what is the name of the plant, if it was the Filipino neighbor across the street? And he would say, oh, that's soloyot, that's kalamungay. And when you're a kid, you're like a parrot. All they have to tell you is one time, and it stays in your brain already, because you're interested. It's too bad that math, English, science, and all that are all interesting. Otherwise, they would just teach you one day, and then you know it already. But I remembered a lot of vocabulary from the different neighbors, Korean and Japanese and Chinese, but not enough to speak fluently, but enough to just like do my parodies in the future, which I didn't know I was going to do. And so my comedy developed way back, but like I dressed up as a Japanese singer. And they had it on TV one time. All the boys, every Sunday we watched this Japanese production of samurai movies. And they'd have an hour in the afternoons. Oh, we all gather, watch our favorites. But one Sunday they had these Japanese singers. Old men singing Naniwabushi. Naniwabushi. That's how they sang, that's how they looked. Their whole expression, like Judy Garland. I don't know if you ever heard of her, but she used to have all this motions that she did, and to show feeling, yeah. And so I go home and I practice it, and then I go get my mom's quilt, and I get a sheet, make the headband. But I dress just like them, or I thought in my mind. I was only 9. And then I went next door and I entertained Mr. and Mrs. Yonishige, and they loved it. They gave me 25 cents for it. And back then, that's big bucks, And so these things developed along the way. But in 6th grade, we come from a very strong Catholic family. All my sisters and my brother, we're all very, very strong till today. Volunteer, do as much as we can with the resources that we have, and the time, but they all manage to do something, and so my mom and dad used to do it, that's why. And then they take us and I loved going with my dad to go help the nuns at Sacred Heart's Convent Academy, at the church, Blessed Sacrament. He was an electrician by trade. For Hawaiian Electric. He was worked his way up to superintendent. He knew about electricity and wiring and everything. Started from construction, digging the hole and putting the pole in, wiring. In fact, if you go up Likelike Highway and you look on top of Ko'olaus, and you'll see those big, whatever they call them. It's not telephone poles, and they have all the wires coming over. My dad was the foreman for that project. So he rode in the helicopter and did all that. But anyway, he used to volunteer his time on Saturday or Sunday and fix wiring, lights, whatever. The cardinals and the luau's and everything, the whole family used to be involved somehow. So we learned how to do those things when we were kids, and they did it in a positive way, which was very enjoyable, And they just knew how. So when I was in 8th grade, the nuns at Cathedral School were telling us kids, we should go to try for the seminary. And back then, that was the thing for Catholic boys in 8th grade. They go take the test for the seminary. statewide, there were like 100 boys that took the test in 8th grade. And I wanted to take it too, but it's so hard, It's hard because I had this imagination. I daydreamed a lot. They call it ADD today. I don't know if I'd had ADD, but my grades weren't that good because I was always daydreaming. And the nuns helped me, but the brothers at Damien actually helped me the most. They taught me how to focus. And they used different things for me to do that, things I was interested in. And my grades got better. I took the test. I didn't make the 8th grade test, so I took it again in senior year. Although I had a blast in high school. I had prom committee, dance committee. I was the MC for the pep squad and the pep rallies. And I wanted to play football, but my mom wouldn't let me. So we did this thing called the pep squad, where we would work out with the football team and we'd bench press, the whole thing, because we had to lift the girls up, and we even attempted the human pyramid, and we did it, but it wasn't easy. But the boys, I was taller than this. I'm old now, so I shrunk 2 inches. I can't believe I was 10 and a half, 5'10" and a half, almost 5'11". Perfect for football. But anyway, so guys, not everybody made it in the football team. It was a brand new team at Damien. So what happened is I recruited guys big like me, strong legs, strong everything. And they wanted to work out. And they wanted to, of course, working with the girls was better than looking at one guy and beating him up,
Right.
But it was fun. It was really a lot of fun. I created cheers for guys because it's an all-boys school. Instead of strawberry shortcake, huckleberry pie, VICTORY, that kind.
Right.
The boys don't want to do that, so I came up with small little vignettes. I don't know what you call them. But at any rate, it all worked out. I enjoyed my high school years, prom, dance, girlfriend, whatever. But in senior year, I still had this feeling I wanted to try, And so I tried again. I made it. And so I went to St. Stephen's Seminary 4 years, and then I went to from Damien, I went to St. Stephen's to Menlo Park, California. And I was there for 3 years. And I got my Master's of Divinity. I can't believe it. From a C average student in elementary school, even going to D's, all the way to a master's degree. And I worked hard, though. It wasn't easy, And but up there, I was MC for the different luau's I attended Stanford for a couple of courses, and Hawaiian Club was there. And then they introduced us to the other Hawaiian clubs, San Jose State, Santa Clara, all in that Bay Area. And so I played ukulele. I had my classmates, we played ukulele from the seminary from down here. Same guys went up there and we had a trio. So we went play for all these schools. Can you play for our luau, and stuff like that. And the priests were back then, the whole thing about the church was going to the left, swinging from the right to the left, so to the liberal instead of conservative. I went too fast though, because it was too liberal. I think we lost a lot of people, lots. But I stuck in there, until I became a deacon, which is an internship. But then at that point, I had to make my mind up. But all the way through, I was an entertainer. And I was doing my characters and developing all this stuff without realizing that I was going to be a comedian. And the priesthood was still strong inside me, but then I had to make my decision. And so I told him, entertainer is too strong. I cannot go in there, not be able to go entertain and sing and play ukulele, because things change when you become a priest. You're running a parish. You're working for a parish. You have to raise money to fix the roof, and you gotta go visit the sick and all that kind of stuff. And my talent could do a little bit of good in that sense, but it's still not dominant. It's more prayer. So I said, although I want to, I think I could handle it. I wasn't sure. So I told them I have to go. And my brother-in-law ran a tour company, so he said he knew I had a Hawaiian trio, because all the way to the seminary up to the graduation, he took a whole tour up there. All my family and friends, and they all went up to the graduation, and in the mainland. So he knew all the way along I was an entertainer and developing one, and so he said, "Come work for me. I need a trio," you know. So I entertained Canadian tourists for 2 years, and I did my nightclub act. I developed it at the Club 400 and then at the Noodle Shop, and then my career started. And was very blessed with the first year. I had a huge hit, Lucille. Before that, I had a almost huge hit called Abdullah Fata'ai. And coming from that kind of family in the neighborhood where nobody took offense, you know, when I go to the luau parties with the family, there would be this Portuguese man at almost all those church luau's. He was the MC, bald head with a big belly, bigger than mine, and he would be hilarious and tell Portuguese jokes. I wrote them all down. Plus the comedians back then, they had all these Portuguese jokes that they used to tell. And I used to write them down and memorize, repeat them. And everybody had good fun as I was growing up, in the seminary, every place. So when I started in my career, my mind was totally clear of any kind of thinking that somebody would get mad. That took that long for me to find out that people do get mad. It's amazing. But not Abdullah Fata'ai. Because I was warned, hey, you know, the Samoans, they're going to get mad with you, man. That's dangerous. I said, why? You know? Well, I was right then. That they didn't. They came to the show, they thought it was a blast. I mean, that was a big hit, actually. But Lucille came out. I translated Kenny Rogers' Lucille into Pidgin English. And that was the biggest hit I've ever had. And it lasted long till today. The generation that was young then asked for it now, you know, so. And there's still people around that, you know, when it was a hit. I'm very fortunate to have had it, because after that, my career just went boom, real fast. Household name. But I still felt, because of about the first 3 years of my career, I only did nightlife. I went out, I met all the other entertainers. I went to listen to Japanese singing at the Japanese nightclub. I met a Japanese lady there. She was a singer, entertainer. I love Japanese songs from my Yonashigi days, you know. And so she started teaching me the real way to sing Japanese. I went to Japan, I sang, and so that was, I guess, my getting my feet wet, establishing myself, even though that big hit was enough. And then I had a huge concert at the Shell, and it sold out. But the production was so expensive, because I had these huge cutouts of volcanoes and a big cakewalk where I dressed as this Mary Tunta type big, you know, I'm not, what do you call that lady with all the fruit in the head? In the way, oh, what was her name? Anyway, I did that. Okay. And I had a fountain and I had fireworks coming out of it. But the thing caught on fire. Oh, no. As I was coming down the steps, and I had gotten to a bad accident. So, not then, okay, before. And so my leg wasn't healed. So I had to use crutches to come down these steps I was just crazy. I was crazy. I love show business so much. I did whatever. And I had my two assistants, my two, Dean and Dean, the guitar and bass player. They were over there hanging on to my crutches and me. And they were in the wig. And all three of us were dressed as I guess you call them like the Hawaiian trio ladies, you know. And we made it halfway down, and then my headpiece, which was huge, and I leaned to one side, and so they had to grab it, and when they grabbed it, they pushed the buttons. So all this fireworks and everything came out too early. It was supposed to be down the end. At the end of the steps, the flame started because they used masking tape to tape the poop area to the coconut stick, you know. And so the masking tape was what caught fire. And so they were trying to put it out. They took their wigs off and they're trying to put the fire out with their wigs. And then somebody came with a fire extinguisher. The audience, 5,000 strong. They were screaming. They thought it was all part of the show. It was the funniest thing in that whole show, and I wrote the show. You know, I did all this clever stuff, and it takes that craziness to just break the audience up so much. They were laughing really hard. But anyway, that was the beginning of my career. And then I said, well, you know, I'm 3 years into the business now. I go Neighbor Island in May. I go the mainland in November, October, November, do the whole West Coast, and do the Neighbor Island tour in May. So before I land, the shows are sold out. So I was in Maui, and my shows, 6 shows sold out on the weekend. So you don't have to push advertising, you know. But I still put up posters. I made friends with all the mom and pop stores, which had plenty back then. I made like 200 posters for each of the islands, and I would go personally to put them up and make friends. But I still had time in the mornings, the early morning. So I told you know, when I was in the seminary, summertime, I worked for the Catholic Youth Organization. So I would work with the summer fun program, summer camp program. And I learned all these songs and these skits, and I knew how to keep the kids' attention and all that stuff. So I thought, okay, I have this knowledge in me. And I went through 8 years in the seminary. There must be a dual career in here, you know. And so I said, I'm going to try and see, maybe daytime I can go visit the schools, use my training in the summer fun program and all the fun songs and everything, and tell them to be good, you know, and study hard, because they gotta take a test to get a job, you know, that to get a career, you know, which is more than a job. And so I said, so you gotta study hard, you gotta go and stay school, you know, so you can get that career, because each one of you has a gift like Uncle Frank. It's a gift that you can use later on, but you gotta get that gift strong. And the way you do that is listen to teacher and do all the work they give you. That's what the message basically. And I've done it for 41 years. So I've seen 300 schools, but it takes 2 years to visit all of them. And I've seen almost, because some schools don't want to participate, very few, but they don't want to. So I cannot say all the schools. I say like almost the majority, 18 times. So I got people that are 40-something years old coming up to me and saying, Uncle Frank, I remember the peanut butter and jelly song, the Butahan. And so I remember one time I was at a stop sign, and the Board of Water Supply boys were fixing the pipe for hot hat, big Hawaiian guys. One of them, look in my, hey, Frank DeLima. I go, yeah. Hey boys, Frank DeLima. So all these 4 big Hawaiian boys, about maybe 40 years old, 30-something years old, they put their hands up and they start going, peanut. I almost died. I couldn't believe it. You know, that's the kind of place you would never think that you would see that. And they were all little kids at one time. Another time I was taking blood for my blood test, and he was about 26, and he came up, what are your name? I said, Frank DeLima. Birthday, July 8, 1949. Okay, can I see your arm? He says, oh, you got good vein. I said, yeah, look at that. They all like it whenever I take the test. And so he put the needle inside, and as the blood was flowing into the vial, he started telling, going on a butahan. I said, oh my God. I said, what? He said, I was a kindergarten at Konawaina Elementary, and I remember you coming to my school for the all elementary every year, and then to middle school. And I said, well, thanks for telling me that, because, you know, I never did hear from too many people for a long time, which wasn't my plan. All I wanted to do was to do that. I wanted to follow my calling, not exactly the way that I had planned at the beginning, but I still feel it's an important part of my life to help out the kids, and to hopefully suggest things that will help them to become successful and help the community. So when you're successful, you can help the community, and successful in the sense that you provide for you and your family. You don't have to live on the top of a mountain with 10 cars. You can be a humble house with food and clothes and whatever. That's success. And to make it that is towards success. But the total success comes when you have this and you have time, maybe not money, but something, talent that you can go once a week will help the community. That's I think a purely successful person that has studied through school, got the career they like, make enough money. Some make big bucks, some just make enough, but all of them go out to community and help. Yeah. So anyway, that is my story about starting to be a priest and then not thinking that was for me, and got into entertainment and was successful immediately. And so then I had, that thinking inside saying, hey, I got to do something more than this entertainment. And then the beginning, when I was in the schools, I was just basically making them laugh. Right. But about maybe 15 years into the school program, I'd say I started to think, hey, maybe I should be a little bit more like a teacher, like, somebody that can push them to get towards their career. I still did it. I told them read, study, all that, but I developed it. And so the teachers like it. And I have evaluation on the website that they answer questions. The kindergarten, third grade, I get like 90% simple. I have happy face, sad face. Is smoking good? And they put some, the teacher reads the thing to them, and then they mark which one it is, and about 85% every year give the right answers. And then for the older kids from 3rd to 8th grade, then I have multiple choice. And so I've been successful with evaluations every year from the computer. Before that was paper. So I'd see stacks of paper, looking through them to see if I'm getting my message to them. And it was still very good, but it took hours, and I was busy, so I had friends helping me out, and then adult friends for youth helping me out. Then the computer came out, and it made it that much easier. You have a company do it so that it's legal, and you don't make up bulaka and numbers, And it still came out really good till today. Yeah. So I have a dual career. That's it.
What do you enjoy about comedy?
Seeing people laugh. And that always is a joy to me, especially when they start wiping the tears, know. And that's the best part about comedy. And at least I know I'm doing my job, and I'm using my talent that was given to me, and it's coming out. It shows in their faces. So that's the best part about comedy.
Now, you mentioned about Lucille. Now, Lucille was a song that you wrote.
It was a translation from the original from Kenny Rogers.
Right. Now, did you think that song would have made it to be what it was? Or
No. You never know what's going to happen with anything you do. Like I did a song, I did a parody of the 12 Days of Christmas.
Okay.
And since the impeachment was happening, and because I'm the schools I'm on break, so this whole month I've not seen schools.
Right.
Otherwise it's every morning. So I have time, so I taped them all. I wanted to see both sides. I never ever just say, "Oh, I know from this one side," And so I watched almost the whole thing. I would speed up some stuff because, oh my God, it's like poking pins in your eyes listening to these things. And so I gathered a lot of information, and I I feel I'm smart enough to know how to weigh what was going on. And then I'm a comedian, so I I said, my doctor told me, he said, I went to see him, he said, why don't you do 12 days of Christmas, you know, like number 4, day of Christmas, you know, the Democrats gave to me 4 tweets of tweeting, you know, and stuff like that. So I said, wow, this is a good idea. So I came home, and in about an hour, I did the whole thing about, so it was, I didn't memorize it because I just did it. I recorded it yesterday and I put it on the air today. Mike Perry played it once. Mike Buck played it once. I didn't get big airplay because it's Friday and that's it. And then it's Christmas. But I thought I'd get it out there anyway. It's on my website, frankdelima.com. And the first line, the first day of Christmas is, on the first day of Christmas, in Pidgin, number 1 day of number 1 day of impeachment. The news went out to me. I never liked the Democrats because then you're starting to sway.
Right.
So the news went out to me. One whistleblower that we all know can see, you know, and that was the thing all the way through. They want the whistleblower. They want to see the whistleblower. But as whistleblower, what is that? They don't expose themselves, right? So it's a whistleblower that we can see. Second day of Christmas, the news went out to me. 2 prim, I think that's the one, 2 prim professors, because all 3 of them, you know, I could have gone very negative on it, but I just did prim because they were resulting to all the knowledge they had, which was very interesting, you know, and I enjoyed listening to them. Of course, they were all, almost every witness was a Democrat, you know, that's just the way it was. And but I was fine. I just listened to what they had to say, and it goes on and on and on. And then the last one is the 12th day of Christmas. The news went out to me, and then I go into I blank. What is the name of that place that caused the whole trouble? The country that Trump went call the guy.
Russia.
Oh,
Was it Russia?
no.
Russia.
Oh my goodness! And I just did the song. You don't know? Anyway, whatever. Yeah, and that was a play on words. But if I cannot think of the song, then I mean the country, then that's gone. Anyway, I did that song. I wish I had the words in front of me. I would sing the whole thing for you. But that's what I did. I didn't know what kind of response I was going to get. But I got a message on my phone saying, great song, send it to President Trump. But then Mike Buck got somebody that's from the Democrat, very serious Democrat, that said, well, yeah, it's leaning to one side. But then Mike told him, hey, it's neutral, you know. And I wanted to be neutral. But we'll see. You know, it's on the website. And not sure how many people heard it. Because today is, a lot of people went on vacation already for the Christmas holidays. So that's it.
Who and what are some of your inspirations?
When I was growing up, as far as comedy is concerned,
yes.
Red Skelton, Lucille Ball, Three Stooges, Bob Hope, Jack Benny. They were I just stuck to the TV. I Love Lucy was just my favorite too. Red Skelton was pantomime. I liked his pantomime and his Clem Cadiddlehopper skit, and also his the guy, what's it? I forget his name. Freddie the Freeloader. Oh, all good stuff, man. Loved it. So, me already being the kind of guy that likes to imitate and act and all that kind of stuff, they were very influential to me. The slapstick from the Three Stooges, the more finesse type of comedy from Red Skelton, and the crazy screwball kind of comedy from Lucille Ball. You know, so those are the people.
You have a lot of characters that you've created, and who would you say would be one of your favorite characters that you've created, as far as like
Imelda.
Okay. Okay.
I got flack for it, but
Okay.
she came to the show and everything was fine. She loved it. Jim Neighbors brought her down. She hung out with comedians. Carol Burnett, that was her good friend too. And Carol had come down to my show as well. In the noodle shop, small place, 100 seats. And that's where I started. I was there from 77 to 89. And all kinds of people came. Bob Hope came to the front desk, but we were on break. But we were rehearsing in the noodle shop. He went to the front desk. I thought I saw a man, far away. So I said, hey, look like Bob Hope. I dressed up as Imelda because she had a green shirt on TV every day crying and all that kind.
Okay.
So I thought, hey, that's a good character. I called my costume lady. She made the outfit, the hair, the bun, everything. Duck glasses, gold trim, Woolworths, had these big pearl earrings. Came on stage singing, I left my shoes in my Manila. I left, and I went on and on. Because shoes was the big topic, for her. And they're all kidding about it. So that's a good comedy line, But they didn't like, her following didn't like it, to make fun of the First Lady. Or ex-First Lady, whatever. And so I had some comments in the Filipino radio station. And that's comedy, And so you do comedy, you're going to always going to get some kind of person that doesn't think it's funny, and that's just something. I tell it to the kids. I say, you're not professionals, so you watch out when you tell a joke or do anything. You have to get permission first. There's a time and place for it, and it's only for the right people. So you have to cover all that. You got to make sure that everything is all ready, your stage is ready, and then you can. Otherwise, don't do it, because you're going to get accused of teasing. And I don't want the kids to get accused of teasing. I want them to just get laughter from what they prepare and what they have and what they heard. I don't know if all going to listen to me, but that's my advice to them as a comedian. But I told them, if you do become a professional comedian, even when you just do it, when you have permission to do it, you're going to still have somebody that's going to get offended, and it cannot help. So like me, I tell them, I go on TV, I do my comedy, and I just pray that people who don't like it turn the station or listen, that's all. Just don't listen to it. But of course, I have no control over that, Anyway, so I did get flack for Imelda until she came down. And once she came down to see the show, then all that stopped. All the tongue stopped wagging. Yes.
You've done comedy for more than 40 years, and what would you say would be a memorable experience for you?
Going to Honolulu Stadium, to the stadium. Okay. Yeah. And halftime, University of Hawaii asked me to come down and perform Lucille.
Okay.
So the band played it and I sang it. And so I started, in one bayan kalihi, I saw this one lady. It was sold out. The stadium had 50,000 people. And I go to the chorus, and this is what she said. 50,000 people yelled, "What? Lucille, you're going to leave me now?" Oh man, my legs got weak. I just could not believe that they all knew it. That's a lot of people. But radio was real powerful back then. Only had a few stations. All the stations played it, and constantly, So, and it was, a big hit. And so that, to me, I thought was unbelievably the most chicken skin experience for me as a comedian, to hear 50,000 people say that one phrase. And that was, to me, I think that was the most exciting thing that happened in my career. Second one would be the Symphony. I sang for an hour. I performed with the Symphony. I sang the songs. I got my mom to come up and do the Black Kakadmere from Kanakakai. She'd always danced that from when I was a little kid. So I brought her up. I sang Ave Maria. I told the audience, I don't have Maria Alonso's voice, but I love the song, so I'm going to sing them with the Symphony. I don't have this opportunity. So I sang it. It sounded decent, And I did my Abdullah Fattah. I did all my favorite characters at the time, including Lucille. And it was a successful, very successful show. And it was sold out. And so I thought that was a nice accomplishment. And then for the unusual one would be I did the opera, The Pirates of Penzance. I can't remember who, I think was that one. Where I dressed as the Stone, what do you call it? Keystone Cop.
Okay.
And so I come out and I start doing my song, da 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 da, and I have to memorize that. And I have ADD, I told you, right? It's hard for me to memorize stuff. All through my career, that was the curse of my career, was to sit down and memorize things. But I did it. I memorized the thing. I was scared to death. I thought one word you miss, that kind of singing, and that's it. You're thrown off. But me, I'm a good ad-libber. I've always been that. Where it's fast, my brain, So I would fit words in there to get to some word that would click me back in. The orchestra won't stop, right? But it never happened. But I couldn't believe I was doing opera. And they needed a comedian, so they asked me. And at one point, though, I broke away from the script as a cop. And I turned to the audience and said, so don't forget, click it or ticket. In the middle of an opera. The place went crazy. They absolutely went crazy. They could not believe it. They laughed so hard. The guy from the mainland who was the orchestra director, he didn't know what to do, because you have time. It's all timed, right? But he said, "Oh my God, I didn't know that you were going to get that big response," And he said, "You must be real popular." I said, "Yeah, I'm all right. People enjoy my stuff. Most people."
Knowing that you've been in comedy for such a quite time, do you feel like there's been a difference from the time you started and in today's comedy? Do you feel like there's been any changes?
Oh, well, of course. There's so much of this politically correct stuff. But it came at the time when my career was relaxing already. Computer came out, took a lot of the business away. People were downloading my stuff for free. So, this kind of was the end, close to the end. Now I just do it for private gigs, private shows, mostly people that know me from before. And like this past year, I did like 400-year-old birthdays. So my audiences are getting older, but they still want me to perform for them. And I think that I'm fortunate that when this whole politically correct thing came out, that I was already 60 years old, and didn't have to worry about it, And the people that hire me to do the private parties, they want me to do that. When I go to the pagoda, people might pay for me to do my Hawaii style humor, And I told you at the beginning where all my humor came from: real, factual incidences from real people with the real languages and the real culture. And I just did it in a fun way and never got scolded. So imagine that foundation, But people that don't know Hawaii humor don't know that. And they just think, it's offensive. But I'm fine. I'll just do for private parties, do the pagoda when we do have a show, and I'm pretty good. I have Social Security, I got pension. I didn't save my money. I wish I did. Didn't have to work then. And at the school program, people donate to pay for the bills. I volunteer. So my life is pretty much good, I'm fortunate. I had a great run. my tour in the mainland was just unbelievable. For 15 years I was up there, and the shows just sold out. There's so many Hawaii people up there. And during the week I would enjoy San Francisco every year, LA, Seattle, Oregon, Portland, San Diego. I just enjoy those places because you have to stay up there, so you have the whole week too. So LA and San Francisco I spent the whole week. The other places I went half-half, to see them. But yeah, good career. Yeah. But it's not easy. I mean, you gotta write stuff, and you gotta memorize, and then you gotta go on stage, and you hope that it works, and sometimes it don't work. But because of my ad-libbing, I was successful because I just throw other stuff in. One critic said he loves when I make mistakes more than my comedy. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but because he said the way I come out of these mistakes or loss of words is hilarious, And I thought, I guess it's a comedy. I got that gift anyway to do that,
Let's talk about your student enrichment program.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Okay. Well, I explained to you why I started it,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And it developed.
Yes.
And so the program for me, when I first started, it was to help the kids to laugh and learn comedy. And as it developed, now it's about career. And I give them the steps that they need to get a good career. So you come to school. Why you come to school? To learn, to get smart. Why? So that you can get a career. And then I say a career. You need a career to get money. And then I take these rap songs. I wanted the song Money. I think it's by Cardi V.
Yeah.
So her words are always questionable, as far. But I like it like that. So I like chocolate, I like brownies, I like custard, I like Simon, I like supersized meals with my friend, instant ramen, I like those pina enchiladas, the one with cheese on top. I like going to the cooler, get a can of soda pop. I like mixes from Chex. I like chip and some ranch. I like snacking all day long. I like pastries made in France. They call me party hardy, happy jolly when I eat a hot tamale hotter than a smoked chipotle heartburn. Ooh, ah wee. And I talk about my diabetes, and I said, so all of that got me, to where I got diabetes. The doctor warned me, I never listened, so I told him, you gotta listen, But I said, I manage it. I got, now I don't have any problem with high blood pressure or anything, because when doctor said I had it, I went on a diet. I did all kinds of things that he suggested, and now I'm in good shape. The only thing that you cannot prevent is arthritis, And when I was in the seminary, I played every sport, Then my mom couldn't stop me from playing football. I was within the walls, and so we had football, basketball, lifted weights, baseball, all kinds, racquetball, and I loved it.
Knowing that you've done so much in comedy and giving back to the students and the enrichment program and whatnot, what would you like your legacy to be?
My legacy, well, first of all, I do the student program, and for many, many years, I didn't want nobody to know. And but as the years went on, and my income was getting less and less, because I provided I paid for everything. I had money to pay for everything. So I didn't need any help financially. And when you don't need any help financially, you just go to the schools, and then you go on with your career, and that's it, And so, but later on, I started to need help, so I started to let people know that I'm visiting schools, and I need financial assistance, so I can go. I tell them that I'm a volunteer, so I don't make a salary. So in that case, I guess part of my if people want to remember me, it would be for the student program, for visiting their schools. That would be the nice thing. I think that would be, and then the second would be that I made them laugh. And I think those two, combined together, like that's the two careers I have. That's what I would like people to remember me for. My comedy, my Lucille, the Imelda, and all that, and the kids' peanut butter and jelly, butahan, and getting a career.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.